Hello, virtual YouTube worlds. It is Monday, November 22nd, 3:07 p.m. It is the feast day of Santa Cecilia. I guess maybe they say that as Saint Cecilia in English. A martyr, a virgin martyr. Fascinating story. Patron saint of music, I believe. Um, and it is also the don't know how many year anniversary of the death of JFK, who was an American Catholic president, although I don't agree with a lot of his putting the faith aside to pursue the secular government's theories. But anyway, regardless, he was still a well loved president. His death circumstances were weird. Many people in his family died in a weird way. There is a Kennedy that's still alive, Bobby Kennedy Jr., I believe, who's a big, outspoken critic of the current jab situation and has some, I think he's an attorney. He has some really great case studies and things like that on jabs in general, but especially the new gene therapy that has come out. Anyway, today I don't want to talk about that. I just wanted to give a little overview of a snapshot of today's events. I came across a fascinating article, and it was an article based on a Pew Research study. And I want to read it, and then I just want to talk a little bit about how, as Americans, and just really as just Western, this is a Western world problem. In the West, in traditional Christendom, we have lost our spiritual instincts. We have no spiritual instincts whatsoever, completely. For the most part, I would say 97% of people in the West right now are totally and completely spiritually blind. And even if they seem to know what's going on in the world, they come at it from a Protestant perspective or from a secular perspective. And whatever, they're people of goodwill. I'm not bashing them. But as far as actual spiritual truths, to know them, to follow them, and just instincts in general. Just by basic spiritual instincts, I mean just pointing you in the right direction of the one true church, the one true God, the one true way to live, the one true successful way to live, things like this, completely and totally just non existent for the most part. And with that, with the lack of spiritual instincts, what goes hand in hand with that is a lack of survival instincts. People with no spiritual instincts, I have realized, also have no survival instincts. And so what do we see? We see a suicidal society. We see a society on the brink of collapse. And nothing sums it up quite as well as this article. More Americans say it's unlikely they will ever have children. And the numbers in this, I mean, I knew it was a problem, but the numbers in this are truly astonishing. An increase in just in a short amount of time. An increasing portion of Americans say they are unlikely to ever have children, according to a new Pew Research Center survey. 44% of current non parents between ages 18 and 49 said they are unlikely to have children someday, marking an increase from 37% of respondents in 2018, according to the survey. So, in just a couple years, 3 short years, we have jumped 37% in all child rearing era age people, saying that. So almost half of the American population, 44%, half of the current American population that does not have kids, is saying that they are not ever going to have kids. Just 26% of people in that group said they were very likely to have children someday, down from 32% in 2018. And this is just obviously the people who don't have kids already. 54, it's even worse for people who do have kids. 54% of people who are already parents said that they were not likely at all to have more children. So if you think about this, the 54% and the 44, about half the population of child rearing age people in America are saying that they're not going to have more kids or just kids in general. The figure is relatively similar to where it stood at 51% in 2018. So that one's not up quite as much, but it's still up. The survey comes as U.S. birth rates dropped to an especially low level in the winter during the COVID-19 pandemic. The U.S. Census Bureau said it would have expected a winter drop during the season when birth rates are typically at their lowest, but noted that the number of births during the winter 2020 to 2021 was unusually low. Well, that's because they were telling everyone that they couldn't even kiss their loved ones. They couldn't have sex without a mask. Not to be graphic, but like, people were too scared to have sex. I'm sorry. I'm not. I can't. I shouldn't be laughing. Oh Lord, help me. I just went to confession this morning, so I have to behave myself. All right, so at the time, the Bureau also added that U.S. births have declined every year since 2008, with an exception of in 2014. The Pew survey was conducted between October 18th and October 24th this year, so this is recent data. It included 3,866 U.S. adults ages 18 to 49. That sampling was part of a larger survey of 9,676 respondents, which had a margin of error plus or minus 1.6 percentage points, that's a normal. For my stats class, at my college level statistics class, that's a normal level, that percentage. So, moral of the story, Americans are not interested in procreating. They're not interested in the command to be fruitful and multiply. Where it used to be looked at as you were blessed. The more children you had, the more favor you found with God. That is no longer the case in modern day America. And what this is, I sum it up nicely in my Facebook post. I post this on Facebook. I mean, people at some point have to get sick of listening to me, but I don't care. I'm just going to keep posting nonsense. I posted the article and I said, all that secular brainwashing is running its course. How sad. Americans have no spiritual instincts and no survival instincts. We are a suicidal society coming to its bitter and miserable end because we listen to the voice of the enemy and not the voice of God. And that is the truth. We think we're doing a good thing by not bringing children into the world. That is the brainwashing campaign of secular education, of Hollywood, of the liberal left, the politicians as far as climate change, and even the right, because the financially responsible right, where their God is economics, don't want to waste their money on kids. That's, God forbid you grow up poor. God forbid you don't have the top of the line, football gear for your kids or whatever. It's more important to those people to have a couple kids and be prosperous. So this is not even a left-right thing. The liberal left, they're just most of the time too selfish to have kids. That's just what it is. If they even like the opposite gender, and that's not a jab at them, that's just what it is. If they haven't been brainwashed to like the same gender, they are brainwashed to save the environment by not having kids because carbon. And then on the right, they're brainwashed to be fiscally responsible, so they're not going to have kids because it's going to affect their bottom line. So we're in this situation now where we are we are rapidly declining. The West is in rapid decline, and this is not just strictly an American problem. This is all throughout Christendom, all throughout the West. We have gotten on birth control. We have now taken gene therapies that are going to affect our reproduction. We have bought into the lies of the enemy that it is not responsible. The days of the big Catholic families, I mean, that's not the norm anymore. There are big Catholic families still. God bless you if you are one. You're truly doing the work of God in that aspect. And this shouldn't be surprising to us because what do we know? Well, if we listen to Sister Lucia, Sister Lucy, I've heard her name pronounced many different ways, the seer at Fatima, she wrote, that in the last days, the final battle would be over the family. It would be over the family and the institution of marriage. And we are in that battle right now. That is the battle. That is the final battle that Satan wants to destroy the family, destroy marriage, stop procreation. He wants to take away the greatest gift that God has given us, which is the ability to have children. He wants nothing more than to take that away. And he doesn't have to take it away because we do it, we just give it away. We do it for him. Okay, yeah, we don't need, look at all these people that don't want to have kids. And it's, as Ben Shapiro put it nicely, and what is he? He's Jewish. He's not even a Catholic, but he brought up a point. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, which I'm not a Joe Rogan fan. I do find some of the guests he interviews really good, and I think he's an excellent interviewer. But I don't personally agree with him on pretty much anything. I don't. But with that being said, he did have Ben Shapiro on, and they were talking about this metaverse, which is totally a topic for a different video. And they were discussing how people are going to get sucked into this metaverse and things like that. And Shapiro came out and he was like, listen, he's like, people are just going to be sitting in their homes, glued to a virtual reality that's not true, plugged into the matrix, basically. And he's like, and the only ones left that are going to be reproducing, at least in the West, are going to be the devout Catholics, Muslims, and Jews who have rejected the garbage. They have rejected the garbage that the evil one is selling. And so there really is just this widening gap between the religious and the non-religious that it can't even be ignored anymore. There is no bridging the gap. It's done. Like it's totally, there's no bridge build that's going to be built that's big enough to bridge this gap. So as the religious, as most of the people that listen to me probably are, it's increasingly harder to find like-minded people. It is. I understand. I feel your pain. I was just complaining about it this morning. But there are people out there, and without sounding like a conspiracy theorist or something, the future of human civilization in the West is going to rest on the religious. Because these other people are totally, like I said, there's no spiritual instincts, there's no survival instincts, and they're just all marching to their death. And it's really sad because not only are they marching to their physical death, they're marching to their eternal death, which is far worse, and they need a lot of prayers. But we are truly at this precipice. We are truly at this tipping point where most of the West is jumping off the cliff. Most of the West at this point is absolutely suicidal. And those of us who are not suicidal, that have survival instincts, that have spiritual instincts, that are like, hey, this is getting out of hand here. Like, we can't really participate in this. We have to leave Babylon, so to speak, the spiritual Babylon, and we have to train ourselves to stand our ground. We have to pray for the courage to stand our grounds. We have to pray for some holy stubbornness. That's the best way I know how to describe it. Just some stubbornness to no matter what. Get in your head, no matter what, this is how I'm going to live. I'm going to try my best to keep the commandments of God. I'm going to not utilize birth control. I'm not going to be sucked into the metaverse or whatever the newest trendy thing is. Right now in America, the trendy thing is to be fighting about race. So I'm not going to get sucked into the race baiting. I'm not, you have to really step back, separate yourself from the madness while still somehow living in the world. Easier said than done. But I'm rambling, but I just wanted to point out how it's just becoming so increasingly obvious that the Christendom as we know it is, number one, obviously over. Number two, suicidal. The West is absolutely suicidal, and it's sad. It's very sad. So we need to accept this. We need to understand what's going on. We need to accept it, and we need to have no part of it as Catholics. Even if you're, up until this point haven't been a real good Catholic, now's your time to shine, baby. Now's your time to say, all right, I'm taking my faith seriously. I am going to get back to basics. I'm going to get back to confession. I'm not going to utilize birth control. I'm not going to live according to the rules of the world. I'm going to live according to the rules of the catechism and the rules, or which are ultimately the rules of God, the rules of scripture, things like this, because that is the most patriotic thing you could possibly do right now in a time where Americans are being told that humans are a cancer on the earth. We produce too much carbon. Kids are dirty, kids are bad, abort your kids, all this stuff. You want to know how you combat that? You have more kids. That's how. So, hope y'all have a great Monday. Maybe I'll be on again before Thanksgiving. Not really sure. I do want to do another video like I did on the readings from St. Faustina's diary. So I'm trying to get together some readings to do from books 2, maybe 3. Because I only did, you know, the book 1 of her journal. For the last one, just the diary is very long, so I have to split it up, otherwise it'll drag on forever. So I'm hoping to get that done over the course of this week. I do have a lot of work that I have to get done this week too as well, so I'm not sure exactly what day it'll be, but anyway, go home and love your spouse. That is the most revolutionary, and have a bunch of kids. That's the most revolutionary thing that you could possibly do right now. Joan of Arc Media out.